From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
We are concerned for the museum. I know that this loss of funding is not insignificant.
Difficult decisions. Why Yellowstone County officials say they're slicing funds from the Yellowstone Art Museum to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's an opportunity to bring people through the store, to support these others in their little business.
And opening the door to others. How a Billings vintage thrift store is sharing space with local entrepreneurs.
This massive tank you see behind me is where Crazy Mountain Ranch has been getting their water for the last few weeks. I'm Cassidy Powers, and I'll tell you where this tank is located coming up.
Welcome back to Montana This Morning on this Friday, August 22nd. I'm Keagan Harsha in with Miller Robson, who we have learned this morning does not like peaches.
Not straight peaches. In a cocktail, maybe in a pie, but I just like my family, you know, from Georgia. I know, and they can just sit there and I can't do it. Cannot do it.
Despite that, I do trust you with weather still, surprisingly.
Okay.
So
all right, and because you're here, a special hello to your family down there in Columbus.
And yours as well in Columbus,
in Columbus, Georgia. There you go. Some kinship there. All right. Well, beautiful weather in Columbus today. In fact, all of us, we're looking pretty good. Very minimal chance we could see some rain over the next 7 days. Now, Sheridan, you may see a shower this morning or maybe a thunderstorm later this afternoon. Otherwise, pretty quiet stretch. Yesterday turned out to be gorgeous. Our high getting up to 82, so a few degrees below the norm. It was a mild, warmer than average start. We were almost 10 degrees above the norm yesterday morning, but as we move forward, we got some 40s for lows in the forecast as we head into the weekend. Nice change of pace. Top gust yesterday of 27 at the airport. We could still see breezy conditions. Some areas could get gusts like around the western foothills, down around Cody, maybe gust over 30 miles an hour, especially around Fort Peck Lake, where we'll have that lake wind advisory in effect later this afternoon. Pretty much on target for the month. For our moisture totals for the year, we're still ahead, looking pretty good there. There's a little bit of rain there in the southeast corner of the state down into northern parts of Wyoming, and that's where we could see some of those showers and thunderstorms fire back up later this afternoon. 62 right now at the airport, humidity at 52%, dew point temperatures 44 degrees. Winds out of the north at about 7 miles an hour. We've got 50s and 60s for the most part this morning. A few spots like White Sulphur Springs and Harleton down into the 40s. But looking great today. Maybe some clouds, maybe some sun, better chance of sun later this afternoon. High of 79 today here in Billings, but look at those cooler temperatures. But we do have an air quality alert down there in portions of the Bighorn Basin. Smoke shouldn't be an issue for most of the population. We'll take a look at that coming up with the forecast in just a bit.
All right, looking good. Thanks, Miller.
Okay, bye.
Well, we are following a developing situation that happened last night with an investigation continuing into this morning as Billings police say they responded to a shooting just a few blocks from Billings Senior High School. While details remain extremely limited, here's what we can tell you at this hour. Officers say they got the report of the shooting in the 600 block of Grand Avenue shortly after 9 o'clock last night. It is still unclear if anyone was actually hurt. Police are not saying how many people were involved. Instead, in a Facebook post, police say that all involved parties have been located and that there is no threat to the public. Also, in continuing coverage this morning, the Trump administration is conducting a sweeping audit of libraries and museums across this country, cutting federal funding for many. Here in Billings, the opportunities for the Yellowstone Art Museum to receive those federal grants are already far and few in between. And now, another blow, as the county is also cutting much of its funding to the YAM. Our Matt Carmack takes a look at how that's impacting the museum.
Big changes are coming here to the YAM as the Yellowstone County Commissioners are looking to reduce its funding to $50,000. And on top of that, any federal grants the museum may use instead are becoming more and more scarce as the Trump administration is auditing museums and libraries across the country.
We are concerned for the museum. I know that this loss of funding is not insignificant.
For Barbara Schneeman, the YAM's development director, changes to the museum's budget allocations came with both confusion and disappointment.
It just is very disheartening and very disappointing that we no longer can rely on that stable funding, especially in a facility that was the old Yellowstone County Jail.
For about 30 years, the YAM was receiving about $220,000 a year from the county's museum budget, or about 25%. Last year, that decreased to $188,000, or 20%. But for the 2026 fiscal year, the museum is only receiving 6% of the budget.
It's never easy to make these kind of cuts. We understand, many at Yellowstone Art Museum are upset.
According to County Commissioner Mike Waters, the significant cut was a difficult decision to make. He tells me that an additional $82,000 will be given to the Huntley Project Museum for hail damages, and the rest will go towards public safety costs, including expanding the Yellowstone County Jail, the Sheriff's Department, and the County Attorney's Office.
The numbers are staggering for the jail. The numbers are staggering for the Sheriff's Office in general, but those are the priorities of keeping our citizens safe and tightening our belts in other areas to ensure that those budgets are getting what they need.
It's a difficult time at the YAM, and it's a difficult time for many other art institutions across the country and in our community.
A particularly difficult time, considering the Trump administration's review of museums nationwide, including 8 of the Smithsonian museums.
I think what's going on at a national level does impact us.
The budget goes into effect early next month. Until then, Barbara and other leaders at the YAM hope for considerable changes.
We haven't made any final decisions in terms of what that looks like if our budget doesn't get restored, but there will definitely be changes.
We have to make sure that our priorities are funded correctly.
In Yellowstone County, Matt Carmack, MTU News.
3 hikers are safely back home this week after a search and rescue mission involving both the Montana Army National Guard and the Billings Fire Department. Firefighters say this is the first time a joint effort between those 2 agencies has located a lost group without them having any location information. National Guard Major Ryan Finnegan says the call for help came last Sunday morning from the Princess Lake area of the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness. A Black Hawk medical evacuation helicopter was flown into the area alongside the Billings Fire Department paramedic flight team. Well, once they arrived, both teams found those 3 hikers suffering from hypothermia and illness. All 3 were taken to Columbus to receive further medical care. The National Guard says the rescue marks the 5th search and rescue mission performed by their helicopter station in Billings this year. Now, the crew on board that helicopter also helped the 3 with onboard medical support. In a statement, Montana National Guard flight medic and Sergeant Patrick Northrup said, quote, "The entirety of the rescue mission was executed seamlessly due to the dedication and level of expertise of all personnel involved. It reflects a tremendous amount of credit and pride not only to the Montana National Guard, but also the flight crews of the 189th and the Billings Fire Department." Well, Montana Senator Tim Sheehy says he's leading a push to stop what he calls Russia's predatory trade practices in the palladium market. This comes after we reported that Stillwater mine families say they feel forgotten 9 months after the mine laid off more than 700 workers. All of Montana's congressional delegation sent a letter to President Trump urging an immediate 50% tariff on Russian palladium imports. The delegation argues those tariffs are necessary now to protect American workers and keep the nation from relying on Russian-controlled palladium. A land exchange years in the making is now final, but the fight over Montana's Crazy Mountains is far from over. Critics say that land deal opens the door to private development and weakens public access, but others, well, they call it a win for the public. This morning, our Andrea Lutz hears from both sides about the future of the Crazies.
High in the Crazy Mountains.
You know, they're very sacred to many of us.
The past still shapes the present.
Basically, I'm born and raised here in Montana, 5 generations.
For Brad Wilson, these peaks are home.
But my grandfather over on the west side, he did a lot for the loggers over there. And doggone, I gotta tell you this, he also ran moonshine on those trails.
But he says the future looks nothing like the past.
It's our rich man's playground, and we are not even allowed to hunt here hardly anymore. It's getting tougher and tougher.
As founder of Friends of the Crazy Mountains, he opposes the East Side Land Exchange.
We're losing the Sweetgrass access point, which is critical. This new trail they're proposing is not for hunters. It's for, I'm going to say it publicly, it is for mountain biking, and it's engineered as such. I know they're going to disagree with that, but you can look at the fine print and see as well.
With 40 years at the U.S. Forest Service,
I was 47 when I arrived here.
Mary Erickson brings a different perspective.
When we take on a land exchange, we don't say, is this in the interest of the landowner, and therefore it's compelling. We say, is there enough public interest in this? I love that country.
After 2 land swaps on the west and south sides, Mary turned her focus east.
In the Sweetgrass drainage, the access is exactly as it is now. That has been permissive since the 70s. So people may be frustrated that the Forest Service didn't defend that, but that That ship sailed decades ago.
Before retiring, she saw the Yellowstone Club smooth negotiations in the Crazies, while also expanding its Big Sky footprint.
They had the time then to meet with all the landowners together. They also then had a property with Smeller Lake, and in this exchange, they donated that parcel.
Wilson sees the club's involvement as a problem, especially after its owner surprised many by buying up the Crazy Mountain Ranch on the west side.
We were told too that they had no interest in developing this. Really? How come we got a new golf course? How come we got new buildings being built? We got new lodges being built, putting an airstrip in. You're telling me they're not going to develop this? They already are.
For Mary, opening access and reducing conflict is the very definition of progress.
The Crazies has a long history of how the Forest Service and neighbors have worked together, and also a long history of disputes about access and management between the Forest Service and private landowners, and sometimes between the public and private landowners.
But Wilson fears of what comes next.
And folks, we're fighting an issue that's going every day. We're losing pieces and pieces and pieces. Every day as we're talking right now, we're losing. Somebody rich is throwing gates up.
Two people bound by the same mountains, but divided over how to protect them.
And there are plenty of other voices to hear surrounding this issue, and you're going to hear them all during our half-hour special, Lines Drawn in the Crazies. That airs 9:30 p.m. Saturday night. We do hope you can tune in. That again is Saturday, August 23rd, right here before our MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2.